So just to lay the table here, first of all, for context for those who didn't watch, last April, April 2024, we did a tier list for DOA3 where we ranked 60 players. Now we're doing one for DOA2. There's not 60 players, there's 55 players chosen. These are not necessarily the best 55 players. Um, it's just kind of like a mixture of some, you know, obviously top players, but also some other people. So if you're not on this list, it doesn't mean you're not top 55. It just means I didn't include your ass in the list. That's all it means. Second of all, Kevin's going to be giving his ratings, but I'll also chime in here and there, or he might ask me a question or whatever. There might be a back and forth. People in the chat, if you have questions about who someone is or have some comments on players, feel free to interject and contribute. And without further ado, let's go right into this. Well, first, I guess we should say, what are we basing this on, Kevin? Just pure skill at the game?
That's a
What's
good question.
what's
I
your
I think
criteria?
that for DOA2, it's interesting because I think there are several players who are sort of in that upper echelon where, they're consistently resetting in solo and co-op, right? Like if they get a game going and they don't like, have some fugates happen, they're going until they reset. So I don't necessarily think that skill is like pure skill is going to be as much of a metric in this one as it would be in like the DOA3 tier list, right? Because like yeah, there are multiple people in DOA3 that have 256, but those people got it at different times or they had better scores or however you want to measure that. But in DOA2, I feel like it's kind of just how fast you play and pretty much everyone plays with the same fate combo, so I don't think it's super fair. So, um I will start by looking at like their general skill level in the current day, right? So if we have a player that hasn't played for a few years, they might get knocked down because of that, but you know
So
that's just what
that's
we
an
have to
important
compromise in the
so
long
that's
run.
an important point here. Um, like a player who hasn't played in a while, because this is an older game than DUA3. DUA3 like it's all pretty recent for the most part. DUA2 is a game that came out about 10 years ago. Later this year it's gonna be 10 years. So are you bumping them down there, or are you like factoring in like some like maybe for their time period how they ranked like so you're just doing right now? That's kind of your framework with
Yeah,
it.
so it's primarily going to be in the context of right now,
But if they were,
but
you might tip them if they were like maybe good years ago or something.
yes, they might get a little bit of a bump if they were a top player, 5 or 6 years ago. But if that player wasn't a top player 5 or 6 years ago,
Okay.
and they're not really a top player now, then they might not
One
necessarily
final
get as
note
many
here
points.
is some people here are people you interact with, some of your friends.
Hmm.
Don't feel obligated to rank them higher because of that. Be completely fair regardless who it is. All right.
One more thing I do want to mention is that with the China patch, that's a very contentious issue. I think pretty much everyone who's in that upper echelon at this point in time uses it or used it. So in this case, like I guess unless there's like a player that just didn't use it and that comes to my attention, like maybe they get a slight bump, but I'm not going to necessarily give a player like or subtract any points because they use the China patch.
Okay.
And in the case where like multiple players have the same PB, I'll look at co-op or like different fates or something because in DOA2 that's something you can actually do.
Okay. So we're gonna do this in alphabetical order, and as we continue to scroll, more names will be revealed. Again, there's quite a few names. 55. We start with a Drenzy.
Okay. Um. So with some players, like I'll ask questions as I go. My memory says that like Adrenzi's solo PB is like 192, and then his co-op PB is like a 216 game where Voltage was like host gun or something. Um, it's kind of hard because I think that Adrenzi is like he would be like an above average player in any other installment, but I think because the expectations are so high for DOA2, like just in terms of round, I think that I'm gonna give Adrenzi a solid B tier. Well, hang on.
You can always readjust later. So
Okay, we'll start Adrenzi with the top of C tier,
okay,
but with the caveat that that might move as time continues.
okay. The kid is a
Um,
C. C for kid.
I think Adrenzi didn't really put much time into DOA2, not just, when it came out or anything, but over the years. So I think it's fair to say that you have him at the top of D or the top of C.
You might be on a delay.
Oh, my bad. Okay. Um, okay. Yeah, so no, I don't think he put as much time into this game as he did DOA1 or DOA3, obviously, and I also think that him, like his co-op record being him just kind of like being off host and not really doing anything most of the game it kind of like subtracts from that in my opinion. But I mean, it is DOA2, so it's not like he didn't do anything. It's just he wasn't the person playing the most.
Okay, gotcha. Next up, we have ATG.
Um, well, I guess he is the father of the China patch. I don't think he's ever played a meaningful co-op game on DOA2, so I'm just gonna go off what I know from his solo games. But like, there was a period where like that guy didn't miss, like before that barrier of like China 4 was just kind of getting like breached by everything and everyone and their mom. Like ATG was actually pretty ahead of the curve, in regards to that. Now, whether that's because he had access to the China patch or if he was just using it more because he made it, I don't know. But I think by that point it was publicly released, so. Uh, I don't know. I mean, from what I remember, he had like 228 gem and gun like back-to-back weekends or something. It might have been back-to-back weeks or something like that. But at the time, that was really impressive because I think that was like those were both of the highest rounds at that point. That was before gem was considered OP.
So what kind of
Uh,
to put this into perspective here? What period of time was this? What year?
I, I could be totally wrong, but I want to say this was like 2022 probably, or like yeah, like 2022, or yeah, 2022 definitely. So like the China patch was very much a thing, but it wasn't used by everyone and their mom, and the people who had used it hadn't used it a whole lot at that point.
So with all
But
that being
yeah,
said, where is he being ranked?
I'm going to start him. Well, okay, I didn't get to that. His solo PB, I believe, is like okay. So then, sorry, Kyoki's saying early 2023, which yeah, that's fair. Um, I'm gonna put ATG because like for the time and for the amount of time he actually put into the game, and for not really being a DOA2 player in quotation marks, whatever that means. I think I'm gonna put him in A tier for now. Um, but that may move around. But he has a 256 with I think like feet or something. But like he never really could be bothered to go past that point. I don't think he had the motivation, but I don't know. He also hasn't played DOA in I don't even know how long, so.
All right, next up we have Beaston.
So Beaston's an interesting player because like he's one of those players that you see in the community where you're like, all right, that guy definitely deserves to get clowned. But I mean, I don't know the guy personally, and every amount of or all the gameplay I've seen of him is like secondhand accounts, like years later. But it seemed to me that he was pretty ahead of the curve when it came to gem, right? And on top of that, he was a score player, or like I want to label him a score player at least. Still not sure how like trustworthy that 300 million China game is, but we'll assume that it's legitimate for this tier list, or there's no cheese involved for this tier list. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know much about his co-op endeavors. I remember him playing like a game with that one player,
Oh
but
yeah,
I
him.
don't. I don't remember him doing
Wait,
much
who?
else co-op wise.
Oh,
The
okay. I know where you're. You'd be.
yeah,
Come on, don't be acting weird.
but I don't know about anyone else, so I can't really comment on his co-op. I want to put him probably in like B tier, because he hasn't played since I mean probably what like pre-COVID or like around that era.
He
I'm
is
not
he
100%
is
on
an
that.
older. Well, it's kind of like a weird thing. Like some people would consider him like an older player, right? But it's like when I started
Mhm.
playing when DOA2 came out and I was playing it, like he wasn't anywhere in the DOA scene.
Mhm.
But yeah, relatively he was an older player playing in like 2016. But I think like he was kind of the whole score games. I'm not like completely sure on some of that stuff. Like I do know some games he was playing like it was like a 2P where he was getting boosted, then the guy disconnected and it continued as a solo. So there was definitely like nonsense like that happened in some of those matches.
Mhm.
But
So
he thought very highly of himself as a player in terms of like, oh, this is one of his games he played. I forget which one, but he's like, this is the greatest achievement in DUA2 and this and that. And it's like whether or not that was the case, like I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think it was, but even if it was, like that's not really like the type of thing you say. It'd be kind of
yeah,
silly.
I think maybe he would have gotten a little bit higher of a placement if he had played for longer. Because I think at the time, my understanding is he was about equal with pretty much, the best of the best for DOA2. But I mean, like it's kind of hard to rank this guy because I've never actually seen him play a game live, and like those highlight reels are only going to show the best of the best.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more that I could say on the subject of Beaston, but he's looking back like you know, he's an interesting guy to have around, I guess, in a community. But moving on, we
Mhm.
have Blackett.
I'm gonna have to think with Blackett.
I don't
I
know. I don't know
I
much.
thought he
For the
beat
record, I don't know
China.
much about what he's even done on DOA2. Like, I'm not even sure why I included him in this list. I guess he has played, but when I did know, like, when I knew him back in the day, like over 10 years ago, he was like just a zombies first room player. But then he hung around with some of those guys so much, like Swato and some of them, that he ended up, dipping his toes in DOA2. But go ahead, sorry.
I'm not 100% sure. Somebody in the chat who's maybe more knowledgeable would have to comment on this, but I'm pretty sure Blackett has beat China 4 at this point. I'm pretty sure that's the case. At the very least, he has definitely beat 192. He's I don't know. I've never really seen a whole lot of gameplay from Blackett apart from like first rooms, but my understanding is he's pretty good. I think it was with feet, the game where he beat China. So I mean, I tip that a little bit more than the gem cheese, which I'll get to later. So I mean, I think he died on like dogs or something 4.0, which like I think ATG died there once too. A lot of players have died there in 4.0, believe it or not. Um, I don't know. I want to say probably like top of B tier. That's just going off of like the very like rough information that I have of him and like the gameplay that like sticks to like in my mind, but
Right.
with that could go up or down depending on like if I were to see more gameplay, but I just from what I know, that's where I'm going to put him for now.
Okay, next up we have Blade.
So Blade's an interesting player, right? Because he was there from sort of the very start of DOA2, right? My understanding is he was sort of like almost at the forefront in the beginning. Like I think he got that one. What was it? He was trying, or he almost got the 125 when it was broken with Frenzy, or he might have gotten it, or they like lagged out on 122 or something. I don't remember.
They had, for a period of time, the co-op record at 120, whatever, 123, whatever it was.
Yeah,
And
something
he
like that.
he
It was like
was he
rooftops.
was he was probably putting in more hours than anybody in terms of the first few weeks playing solos and this and that.
Yeah, and I also remember seeing some clip where he was on like round 213 or something, and he was like croaked, or he like croaked or something. I feel like Blade is a hard player to rank because I think he's somewhat inconsistent as a player, and I don't know if that's necessarily his fault even, but just as a player, I think he's somewhat inconsistent. Where I think in the earlier days, like he had the potential to be, you know, the best player or runner up or something. But I think as time has continued and he's sort of broadened his scope with video games, I think he's I don't want to say gotten worse, but gotten once again less consistent, and I think that damages his rating here a little bit.
So where are you putting
I
him?
want to put him probably like right above the kid in terms of for the time being, just because I don't think I've seen Blade go past 192 in quite a while solo. And I know he did do a lot of co-op matches, which is why I'm like putting him above the kid. Um, but my brain is saying that like I can't in good conscience put someone above C tier if they haven't been to China for solo, which my understanding is Blade has not.
What I will say is there was not necessarily just Blade in those matches, because there were always like they had a deep bench during the COVID era, but DOA2 had like a slight revival of sorts, I guess, in around 2020-ish. Um, before DOA3 came out, where people maybe this is before 20, maybe this was like 2019. I don't even remember. But there was just like a 4P happening every time, like bam, or like a 2P co-op this, co-op that, and
Oh wait, he does have a 2.5.
they were pushing rounds, a lot of these players, but they were also constantly failing on like pretty much every arena in the textbook. So it was typical that rounds were being pushed, but it was also like, damn, like what's happening here? Like dying on dogs, dying on meatballs, dying on the shadow boogie. Like every arena, they were just dropping dead on. And then for every one successful game, quote unquote, there was about four fails. But go ahead, next up is blue.
Oh, one amendment, I guess, move Blade to right under Beaston because Kyoki is saying he has a 225. I was not aware of that, so I can't really justify putting him in C tier if that's the case.
Okay, we have
But
blue.
moving on to blue. Um, my thing with blue is I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't really know how much he's grinded the game. Like I know that was a meme like a couple years ago where it was like play like blue and it was just like spinning unnecessarily. And that's really all. I mean, I have played with him a couple times and he's not terrible. Like the issue in those games though was that he didn't really have his head in the game. Like he played for like an hour and then he would go AFK. So I have not much of a reference. I've seen him play the patch a little bit, but it's like the gimmicky version of the patch where like he's just putting on like a billion like poles. Like he'll literally have like a block of poles on one part of the map, and it's like, what good is that doing? I This is gonna be harsh, but I don't even think his solo PB is above 164. So I'm thinking D tier for right now.
Okay.
And bear in mind, that's not to say that he's like a terrible player. It's just to say that the expectations for DOA2 are quite a bit higher just because of where it's been pushed at this point.
Okay, next up we have chess.
Just yeah. I mean, I want to say
And if you don't know some of these people, you don't gotta just like make up some lore with them. You could just say
no. I'm pretty sure I know who Chuss is. He had like a 226 gem or something, right? Like eons ago.
you might have had like two games that went to like 225 or 226.
Yeah. Um, I feel like he also played like a co-op with Zarly and Pele or something, and they got to like 212.
Well,
Like when that was an
he was
impressive
the
round.
teammate with Swado when they had gotten
Oh yeah, you're right.
a record
That
of
was
like
the
251 or
two
something.
the the 260 game too, right?
No, that was
Or
somebody
was
else,
that
I think.
Furio? That was Furio. Okay, so 250. Yeah, okay. Um, I mean, I want to maybe put him like slightly above of Beast or slightly ahead of Beaston because like he was able to make co-op games happen even if he was just kind of like boosting Swado. I think he played when he needed to, and that's really all that mattered. And on top of that, he got the same rounds that Beaston seemingly got with Gem, so I can't really justify putting Beaston ahead of him.
Okay, let me just double check something. Like a LOZ fact check. Sadly, nobody like saves their gameplay anymore. Never mind. Next up, we have Combat Bowl, who's in the chat, so be very careful.
See, Combat Bull's an interesting player because I did not know this guy was even like a DOA player. I just knew that he would occasionally appear in Rambo's chat for like 3 or 4 years, and then randomly, like, this guy was just grinding DOA2. Or it felt like he was just kind of grinding DOA2 out of nowhere, but I mean, he got 289 pretty recently with the feet. And I mean, that was pretty impressive. I don't really know much about him as a player earlier. I know he had a 225 on Xbox, and I know he got like really unlucky where like he beat China twice, but one game he like disconnected from the servers or his game turned off or something, and the other game he boosted under the map on Donut and he got stuck. So I don't know. He also died on 256 once, but I think the fact that he's consistently beating Chinatown to me, like I would I would put him at the top of A tier for right now, and with the potential for him to be moved up to S tier later on,
Okay, so
if
the
A tier fills out a little more.
so the student has surpassed the teacher.
In this case, yes.
Next up, we have the guy who just popped in the chat. His name is Citrix.
So my understanding with Citrix is that like he was playing pre 2020, like he was playing DOA2 before DOA3 came out. Even though I wasn't necessarily aware of him, which is interesting because I don't know. I feel like he didn't make a super huge English super huge splash until later. Um, I mean, he kind of started the. I don't want to say he started the wave, but my understanding is he like told Swato to play Gem, and then Swato was just like, "Wait, this is actually good." And then Swato's like 294 game happened. But I mean, I don't want to give Citrix credit for that, but that is to say that Citrix was kind of known for playing Gem for a long time. But I mean, he recently got 297 with feet, and I think that's his PB overall. And then I believe he has like a two, like the second or third round of China 5, like a reset with the Gem. Um, Now, granted, a lot of that came off the back of like kind of grinding the patch, but I will say that he has like significantly less time played on the patch, as bizarre as that might sound. Uh, so I mean, I don't know. I want to put him in S tier for now, just simply
Citrix.
because just simply because he has the ability to like get that far with both feet and gem, and I suspect that he could probably do a lot more with gem than he's done right now, but there's just not necessarily motivation there because of like Margwa RNG or like entities or whatever it may be.
Okay, next up we got your buddy Joey.
You know, Joey is my buddy, and if this were a DOA 3 tier list, he would be ranked much higher, but unfortunately I'm going to have to put him like below DOA blue on the tier list here
I already got you. Don't
because
worry.
yeah, well, Joey's PB is like 99 or something with Gem. He has barely played DOA 2. Like the only DOA 2 really that I remember seeing other than that 99 game was him like playing random pubs for some reason and just like trolling in pubs or like trying to carry these guys to 64. It was some huge DOA content, but it wasn't necessarily a show of like skill, if that makes any sense, as much as it was just exploring the other installments.
Okay, next up we have Fatal.
Okay, you're gonna have to help me on this one because I don't really know his accomplishments. I know he has like around 200 when Gem was busted, and I know he has a 225 like 4-player match or something somehow. But that's about the extent of what I know with Fatal on DOA 2.
I
So
mean, I'm not privy to all of his things either. I played with him when DOA2 had come out. We would play co-op matches, this and that, but then I kind of stopped playing after about a year, and then he made like some sort of return where he was, getting some of these further rounds. He had cleared 192 solo on one of those patches. It might have been with like the busted gem. Eventually, on the final patch, he played some sort of 2P with Rios where they made it to China 4 but died. So I think those would be kind of his PBs for solo and co-op.
Was that game with Rios the one where they were like trying to steal lives minimally or something, or did I make that up?
They might have played a game like that at some point, but I don't know if it was that particular match. Maybe a certain someone in the chat could shed light on that.
I mean, going off of that, I would probably put him like kind of hard. It's I
We
don't know. I
we have
just don't know
we have some
which. Oh,
context from Rios.
92, and he played a 2v2
Oh,
25.
so you guys know the clip where Zombie P's like Fatal is pretty good. What does he say? Like
It's like Fatal's like one of the fucking top guys.
he's like
Everybody knows
Fatal,
Fatal.
Rainbow's Wash. Fatal, he's pretty good. He's one top. It's like there was a period where there was like some media propaganda with like Fatal Rampage being like the top of the cafe or something. Which
Yeah, I mean,
he was a fine player, but it was like I think what happened was at that time he was like he was very chill with a lot of these like different players like Aquahawk and Zombie P and some of these guys. And I think they kind of like they like viewed him as like the veteran of this. He was like the one veteran of, of DUA who was like around and kind of showing them the ropes and stuff. So I think they rated him very favorably.
yeah. I was going to say I'm thinking like ahead of Blade, like between Blade and Beaston. And the only reason for that is like I know Fatal's a good player, obviously. My only thing is I don't think I've actually seen. I don't know that any of the matches that Fatal played were really on like the final patch, for one thing, and for two, especially solo. Obviously the co-op game, evidently with Rios probably, but I mean, 225 2P is pretty like I don't want to say it's like mid or anything, but it's pretty par for the course for DOA2, even with the backward setup they were running. So I think it's fair to say above Blade
What I will
is a better
say, I'm not gonna
match.
say their match was impressive, but what I will say there is a huge distinction between people game overing on like 225, 226, 227 like back then, like before COVID and after patch essentially. Those are two very different things.
Yeah, which is why I'm putting him like a little bit above Blade
I'm
here,
not saying your ranking is
but
bad. I'm just providing that context because a 225 in when he did his 2P with Rios, that was probably like what 2017 or 2016 or something. That's very different than hey, I've been playing the game recently. I've been on the patch and I got a 225 in 2025. Like those are two very different things.
yeah.
But moving on, we got FCA, who some other names he goes by.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even be asked to like dig through the fucking archives to figure out what this guy wants to be called now. But I mean, I don't know. The thing with FCA is I think he has like an arbitrarily inflated ego for what he's actually done with the game. Like I think he has a 227 or something solo and a 256 co-op with Zombino, which I think he shows up later on. But I mean, those are pretty good rounds, don't get me wrong. I would probably put him like above Blackett because of that. Just because like, obviously he was able to do well in solo and co-op. And I think, well, I suspect that he probably could have beaten China if he kept playing, but it is what it is. I will say that's with the caveat that I think he thinks way higher of himself than he really should, and I think he is very much middle of the pack.
So you have him high B. Kyoki has him C max.
Um, Here's my thing. If we're putting Fatal in B tier, I mean, granted that's with like, pre-patch stuff. I can't really justify putting FCA in C tier. So I mean, maybe you could put him like after Beaston, before Chus, and that would be a little bit more
No,
even.
you don't gotta move it. I'm just
But
mentioning
but
feedback
like
from
I
the
said,
chat.
I just don't really think I can put someone who has gotten that far into China in C tier when there are several people here who, max 225, 226. I mean, I don't like him either, but I think that's the fairest ranking I can give him. So
Next up, we have Feeding Gun.
yeah, I don't really know what the hell that guy has done with DOA2. I'll be real. Like, I know he was like I don't know, like the orator of DOA1, where like anytime someone was streaming DOA1, he would come in to like tell you the 152,000 ways you're playing DOA1 wrong or something. But I don't think he ever really did much with DOA2. Like, he kind of would just like show up in the chat and be like, "This game looks fun. This game looks fun. I think I might play this game." And then he would like load up a match, and then it would go fucking nowhere, and then he would just go back to DOA1 again. But I mean, if I don't know anything about this guy playing DOA2 is what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure
So
like when time scaling was a thing, he appeared, but that's about all I know.
I do remember that whenever this is before the patch, I think. Like it was always a thing for many years in terms of time scaling. Um, there were a couple players who were like doing that like before DOA3 came out for DOA2. And then it's something they started exploring again at some point when older players from DOA3 like started revisiting the older games. You know, like the Nightmare patch on DOA1, and they started time scaling on DOA2. So I do know he like dipped his toes in. That was like his interest level. Like he would time scale to the boss. I don't know, like 192 or 256 or whatever, and he would like practice that. But yeah, I don't think he did much with it. But fun fact, what's his co-op high round, Kevin?
I have no idea. I'm gonna be totally real with you. Is it like, I don't know, round 7 or something?
He got a world record on co-op
Did he? Um, what? I mean, was this early on?
very early.
I don't
The
know. Was it
first
like,
the first team to clear 128 on co-op was me and Cody Timewarp.
oof?
He had the unupgraded death machine.
No. I mean, yeah, I want to put him like,
He's like, when does he knew like nothing? This was like his first time playing the year or two. He's like, when does this gun get good? This ain't like the DOA1 gun.
Rambo's like, soon, soon, just keep playing.
I was like, I got the
Like getting
upgraded
free
feet.
donos.
You're along for the ride here. Just we're
Um,
good to go.
you could really put him either like bottom of C tier or like top of D tier. It could really go either way.
Well, you choose. This is your list.
I want to say, like, knowing who, like, the other people who are on this list, I want to put him in, like, the top of D tier. But,
All right. Next up, we have Finisher Junior.
yeah, so, I don't know. I've kind of only heard rumors about this guy. Obviously, there's the infamous, like, 260 game where he definitely, like, fugazi some screenshot or something. 500 million score cheese. But, like, I don't know. I remember Swado, like, in the documentary saying that he, like, croaked on Kali or something. So I assume he played a lot. But yeah, that's about all I know about him. I mean, if he's croaking on Kali 3 and that's like his peak, then I don't know. But I don't know what this guy's PB is, so I don't know if I can really rank him, if that makes sense. Like, I just know he like fugazed a 260 game.
Right. So where did you not rank him?
Well, I was gonna ask, like, what is his actual like PB? Is it like 215 or something?
260.
Cap.
He his PB. Let's see. He has I found this screenshot. He has a 225
I
solo.
mean,
He
if that's
has
like all he has, then I would say probably like um
he has
I mean, I would put him like above a Drenzy at the
five
top of C tier
lives.
probably. I think that's fair enough. I mean, I can't put him in B tier because like respectfully, like, I mean that is kind of low deaths actually for 225, but like, nah, like I think top of C tier is
Wait,
peak for finisher
how many
junior.
times did he die? What was the number?
239.
Eh.
5 lives, and he's playing blue. Like,
Was it? It might be a 2P. Look at this. This was a
might be some
2P.
cheese.
This I don't know if this is the same game. I just found this. This was initially a 2P though.
Damn. Yeah, I feel like top of C tier. That's about where I'd put him.
My finisher junior folder runs deep. It's top of C tier. Okay.
I said, nope. It's got to have a 3 on the front of it. Don't you understand, you dumb son of a bitch? Don't you understand?
Next up we got Flame.
Uh, I don't know. I feel like, unlike last time, I don't think Flame is all that overrated for DOA2. Like, my understanding is he used to carry people back in the day. He was like a 192 or like China 3 player, and then later on, like, I don't know if it was like pre DOA3 or if it was post DOA3, but he ended up getting like a 225. So,
So Flame is somebody who got like a bit of a bad rap from you last time.
yeah, because like my point was he never did anything in DOA3. Like, this guy was not hot shit.
But on DUA2 you tip him.
Yes, I would say like um top of C tier. The only reason I'm not putting him higher is because like he has that 1-2-2-5, but then he doesn't really have anything else. And
Okay.
I don't remember exactly when that game was, but it was later in the cycle where like I think it was after Swado had already cleared China. I think it might have been around that time, but I could have been or I could be wrong. So I mean that barrier had already kind of been broken by that point.
You have an interesting list so far. Next up we have Freedom.
Uh I'm gonna be real and like no hate to Freedom here, but like top of D tier I think. Like ahead of Feeding Gun, but I don't know. My thing with Freedom has always been that I think he's a rather weak solo player. He's a really like solid co-op player because I think he knows his role. Like I think he knows when a role needs to be filled, and I think he fills it really well. But I don't think he has the motivation to play solo matches, and I think because of that, he kind of ends up like floundering in the solo category in my eyes. But I mean, he was also like DOA2 from the beginning, right? And I don't necessarily know when he stopped playing, but I know he got through 164 or 164 co-op. But that's about the extent of what I know, which is why I'm putting him above Feeding Gun because I mean he has actually played the game quite a bit, right?
Next up we have Frenzy. By the way, Freedom used to be #1 for Silverback defeats.
Yes, I did know that.
Next up we have Frenzy.
Um, See, Frenzy is like an interesting player because I feel like Frenzy is kind of like the quintessential DOA player, right? Like when you think of a DOA player, like the archetype of a DOA player would just be like Frenzy.
I don't know. I think I
Um,
Gustavo.
well, we have different definitions then. But I don't know. It's kind of difficult to rank Frenzy because on one hand, like he's kind of stuck with the kid in that like I don't think he's ever cleared 192 solo, right? Like, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think that was his fault either time. My understanding is one game he got the blackout error, and the other time he accidentally had like the fast monkey cheese. Uh, and before that, he didn't play. I think those games were in like 2022 or so, like 2022, 2023. But I mean, he when the game came out, I feel like he was like basically on the same tier as Rambo in terms of like they were both kind of I think the only people who had the skill to get the job done.
It's Cap.
I mean, he had He had the 228 with Rambo. He had the 200 with Rambo the Quit. I think he was like the second or third person to beat China. China 3, I mean. I don't remember if that was before or after the pole cheese, but that was when the Stone Guardian was in the game. That was like his 184 game or something. So, I mean, I don't know. I want to put him just because of like the earlier stuff and because it's kind of hard to rank him given that like his 192 deaths were arguably not his fault. I want to put him like, I don't know, above Beaston maybe. Just because I feel like Frenzy didn't really play the game all that much, like really at all. Like this dude was just AFK half the time.
So he was AFK half the time, but he was as good as me. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That'd be some nonsense. Moving on to Furious.
Uh, I don't know what Fury is like. What his solo PB is. I think isn't it like 225 or 226 or something with the feet.
Not too sure on his solo.
Obviously the big thing with Furious is his game with Swado, the first 291 solo. I
Come
think,
up.
or oh yeah, my bad. That's what I meant to say. I mean, obviously that's a very impressive game, but my understanding is that the game where Swado basically played like 75% of that game, like, or most of it after like 255 or 256. I mean, I don't know. I think just going off of like assuming his PB is like, you know, middle of China 4 and his co-op PB is what it is, I think I'd probably put him like above Blackett, or actually no, I'd put him above FCA probably. I think if I'm wrong and his PB solo is a little bit higher, you could probably bump him to A tier, but I don't have that information off the top of my head, so I'm gonna say top of B tier for now.
He did have a blood pool GG when he took over.
Yeah, it was like a 283 or something.
Yeah,
Swado
but
lost full.
he was yeah, he's Furious. He's a good player.
100%. I think DOA1 was more his speed though, right? Like that was his thing.
He played it more in DOA2. He played it a little bit when it came out, and I wasn't really impressed, to be honest, with the games he was doing.
Mm.
But he barely touched it. Then he stopped playing, and then he came back years later, kind of as like a teammate for Swano, you know.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Gatlin.
Above Dojoey.
You don't tip Gatlin? So this is Gatlin Mitchell. His name is, I believe, right?
Yeah, I mean I don't really know much about him,
What's up, gaming?
but my understanding is he's like an above average player for like all of DOA, but he's not necessarily an above average high round player. That's my understanding, but I might be totally wrong. I don't even think he's beat 128, but correct
Okay.
me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Next up, we have Ho Chi Minh.
Uh,
So you played some games with him on DOA too.
yeah, but that's the thing. He was always like boosting someone on that game if he was playing it. I mean, honestly, I want to put him like below Joey for now. Just because like I don't there was like one weird match where he joined the game like late, like before the second ROJ, and then he got like unupgraded feet, and then like him, wife, Blue, and like some other guy ended up getting to like 152 with that, which is impressive, but I mean, it's unupgraded feet on a 4 bar, right? Like, and he had another person playing with him at all times, so I don't think I can really give him much tip for that, and I don't think he's really done much solo either.
So you have him
And then
at the
yeah, you're
very
gonna see
bottom.
me
You have him
croaking
at the
here.
very bottom of your list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's actually done anything in DOA2, if that makes
So he'd be
sense.
like
Like,
he'd be the flame of DOA too.
yeah, yeah. Well, Flame had 1 good game in DOA3 at least.
Next up, we have iGame, iStream.
Mm? I would put iGame at like the bottom of C tier for DOA2. I think he has like a 164 game, which is impressive for the amount that he's played. But in the current year, it's not all that like notable. I think that's about all I have to say.
All right. I'm Mr. Beast, aka Deity Dylan, aka whatever the hell he goes by nowadays.
I guess he's an interesting player. Uh, I mean, what he has like some like co-op game with Toker where like the game ended on like 255 or something. That wasn't. It was like earlier than that. They like reset on Jungle 4.0 or something. Unless I made that
He
up
was
and
like another one of
hallucinated.
those players who like during the COVID revival, he was just like in a game every like you would wake up in the morning like another day of being alive. You like turn on Twitch at like 7 in the morning, and he's like fighting for his life with Blade on Island 4.0. Like they got the night
Yeah,
shift or something. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and he always played his shift, so there's that. And I think he had like a solo match where he got to like 226 with Gem or something. I want to say. So I mean, there's that. I would say probably like
He was one of those guys. That you're talking about, like, oh, take the gem, take the gem. Apart from other people
yeah.
taking it, his like Beast was running it solo back in the day. Apart from stuff like that, I remember Mr. Beast saying to like certain groups of players when they were going back to DOA2, you know, whoever he was hanging out with, I don't know who it was, but he's like, the gem man, he's like, that's gonna be the way you beat it, you know, consistently, this and that. So I'm not saying he was right or wrong. I'm just throwing that information out there because it just came to mind. I remember he was trying to preach the benefit to Jim, and then like people would be in the chat, you know, and they're like, "It's not working out for you, Birdman Beast."
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of hard, but at the same time, like as much as he was an advocate of Gem, I feel like Frenzy is like the OG advocate of Gem. Like I think that like video he made on his 184 game, he's even like, yeah, for more intermediate players use the feat, but for higher level
Well,
players use the
his
gem.
gem is a lot different than Gem of now.
Yeah, which is fair, which is a fair point, but I mean, Frenzy was
The
onto something. That's all I'm saying.
the first, well, no, the first the OG of Gem was a guy named Ultimate Gandhi. Do you know Ultimate Gandhi?
No,
Never heard the story from me?
I have not.
Complete shitter. Nobody knows who this guy is. I didn't even know who he was. But I saw he posted a clip on like a game clip or something. I just seen it on his profile, I guess through the leaderboards or something. And he was absolutely crushing it. Like just like I never heard of this guy, and he was on like Kali 3 and a co-op match, which at the time was like fairly high for the standards back then. Just
Hmm.
crushing it, you know, 10 lives, peace and pools. Like I thought to myself, if Ultimate Gandhi could make Jim look this easy, it's time for me to run a gym game.
Yeah,
That's when I got 171, which was then we suicided. Then it was the record.
thought you used feet that game for some reason.
Nope,
That was a game
no,
with Derek
there
and
was no,
George,
there
right?
was
Or Derek and Bluntman.
yeah, Bluntman and Derek, and it was a no feet game, which at the time that was a sort of essentially a new meta
Okay,
where
okay,
people started they realized Gem was OP for hosts and they started running it for co-op.
okay, gotcha. So yeah, what did I say for Beast? Oh yeah, like I would put him like right next to Frenzy, like right behind Frenzy probably.
Okay. Next up we have Insanity Spectrum.
Yeah, so Insanity is interesting. I don't know all of his PBs off the top of my head apart from that recent one, but I've seen him play the game before, like quite a bit. Like this guy is just like the perpetual side character of like the European DOA community, even though this guy lives in Australia. Like he just like appears randomly in co-op matches, and then like when the host or whoever's playing starts struggling, he just like fucking appears and just like crushes. Like I remember one time in particular where like Stam had him on Oppost like Bird or something, and like Stam like was like goose eggs on like 162 or 163, and like Stam just like somehow pulled through with the bird on like a 2-bar, which I mean, granted it's 3.0, but still, I feel like that's somewhat like notable. And I mean, there was that recent game too. I don't know about his solo endeavors like at all, but just going off of what I know about him from co-op, I would probably put him like the bottom of A tier, like behind ATG probably.
Okay, next up we have Jabdu, and those are, I know the image is small. Do you know what those are?
Are they meatballs?
Spicy meatballs.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't even know that Jabdu existed until like I randomly got like dragged into like a group chat with him, Cody Time Warp, Frenzy, and like Z Sari in like 2023 or some shit. Might have been 2024. So like I'll be like I have no idea what Jabdu did. I've seen the clip with him and like the meatball, but that is it. So I don't really know if I can comment on that.
Is there a clip for that? Like, I don't even know the clip. Like, I don't remember.
I thought there was a clip.
It might
Maybe
be
I'm
like
tripping.
Coliseum or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Are you gonna
remembered.
compare it to the last tier list y'all did? I mean, we could, but it's like a tier list for a different game, so I don't know if there's, and it's not all the same players on each list, so I don't know if there's much comparing to do. But um,
So I mean, in this case, like either you can rate Jabdu or I can. We could just skip him because
I'll
like
rate him
I
for
don't
you.
know anything about him.
I mean, he didn't play much. He's we could put him like above Gallon.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
fine.
he wasn't a terrible player, but he just, Jabdu.
Jabdu.
He when did he like this guy like reemerged at some point? Was it Cold War? I feel like a different game I was playing, like
He
MW.
was
It was like MW3 recently. I don't know, some game recently he like joined in on my session and like started talking.
I don't know. I don't remember that, but it could have
I
just
wanted
happened.
I wanted to play a game with him. He like for context, do you know his like origin in terms of like Call of Duty?
DOA1, right?
Well, before that he was a zombies high rounder.
Oh yeah. I did know that because he
Yeah.
was on like the BO2 boards back in the day.
Well, even I think even before BO2 a little bit, he was like towards the end of BO1, he became like a high rounder, trying to get max round 99 on the board, and playing with some like Yakadiggity and some of those other guys who I can't even remember now, but he was a good zombies player, and then eventually he came over to DUA1 in like 2013ish, maybe early 2014ish, with like players like Toker.
Mm.
And Yakadiggity was trying out the UA for the first time, essentially. So Jabdu and Toker were kind of under the tutelage, for better or worse, of Paper Deer. And
Rip.
I wanted to play. Jabdu got a good connection with me, because he's from Canada, like kind of the east part of it. And I wanted to play a game with him and Sneeze. Do you know Sneasel?
Yes. Like his name was like Mega Sneasel or
Yeah,
something,
so
or
he
M
was.
Sneasel.
I wanted to play a game with the two of them. They were like two solid players, but they didn't have like some super high rounds. I was like, oh, let's play. I'll run host feed, and we could, help you guys beat 120, this and that. But like they had like an ego about it, where like they're like, we don't want to get carried by you. We want to do it by ourselves. So they would play like two Ps and constantly fail. So they should have taken the offer. So for that, we're gonna put him at D tier. Next up, we got Jaguar, and you know what screenshot I'm about to pull up.
I don't know. So Jaguar is interesting because like he has a pretty high PB. Like I think he has a 229 or 230 or something in a 4-player. But I've never seen a solo from him. Actually, hang on. Let me consult my screenshot real quick of the DOA2 leaderboards on PlayStation. Um, but I want to say like like there's this guy has like doesn't have the highest solo round. I can't find this screenshot.
I found mine.
I must be like hella behind.
Hit the refresh keys.
I did. I'm still behind. Uh,
I think you just ought to pick a letter for this fool.
yeah, I don't know. He's like above flame.
Really?
Yeah,
Is he? I don't
top of
know.
key
Like, is
too.
he that good?
He's a good co-op player. He's not
Like,
amazing at solo from what I remember. Like I think his DOA3 PB was like 143 or something for the longest time solo, but he's always been able to get like these like ridiculous co-op games. Like I don't know if it's just because he's getting carried by like one player who's somehow like just better or what, but I mean there has to be some amount of skill for him to be able to get, I think he has like a 209 game on DOA3 also, like 4 player. So I mean he's beaten the hardest arenas in both games. I mean obviously I'm not using DOA3 to rank him here, but I'm just saying like clearly there's consistency there. I'm not 100% though. That one like you could put an asterisk or an asterisks, and you could really put him like anywhere in C tier.
I don't know.
But
I don't know if I'm buying it. But next up, we got Jamaican Hustler.
he's kind of like Freedom leveled up in a lot of ways. Like he was like the silverback grinder, but like as bad as this sounds, like I believe that he could make it to China 3 in a solo match. So I would put him like beneath iGame, but in C tier
Have you ever
because
seen gameplay of Jamaican Hustler?
I have not. I've just been told that he's like okay enough at the firepower, so that's where he's
Okay,
going.
I've never heard that, so that's interesting. Next up, we have Kitty Gaia.
Like given the I mean, I have a 227, but I feel like because I played the patch and because it was with Gem, like I don't know, I would probably put myself like above Mr. Beast but below Frenzy or like below Mr. Beast. You could really go either way.
Okay.
I don't know. I would definitely put myself in B tier though. Like that's I kind of feel like that's where I should be.
You play a lot
I
though,
don't know.
don't you? I feel like, I mean, I'm not saying you should be higher, but you
I mean, I feel like for the amount that I played it, like I've really only played 2 matches with Gem,
you did
like at all.
you did
But
you did kind of throw that game with
yeah,
Citrix.
to be fair, that game was chalked either way. But I mean, yeah, that's kind of my thing. Like I feel like I just don't cut the mustard when it matters most. So I want to say probably like actually I would put myself below Beast on even.
Damn.
I think I would still put myself like above Fatal though.
DOA2 is the game where
On
Fatal earned
DOA2.
his nickname, Fatal CJ Rampage.
Mm. I thought that was just his actual name.
Do you know what CJ stands for?
No, not
Choke
in the context of Fatal. Oh, choke.
choke job.
Well,
Next up
I mean, I
is
think
next up is KXG.
KXG is interesting because like I feel like for the longest time this guy was like hard stuck China 3 like with whatever fate you gave him, like it was China 3 or Kali. Like I remember watching this guy play DOA in like 2018 or something, and he was just like losing full on Kali 3. I don't even remember what fate it was. I don't think it really matters, but I remember him being like full on tilting. Um but I mean he eventually broke through to 192 and then from 192 to 227. So I mean, I don't know. The 227 was after he started playing the patch, but I think considering I don't want to say how little he's played it, but like that his priorities have always kind of been other way or other places. I want to put him probably like above Frenzy or well, you could even above Chus probably, below Blackett.
Alright, next up we have Legna.
Um I mean, I only know about that one match where like he got stuck in the wall in 192 and like he beat 192 because of that, but I don't remember if he was gonna beat 192 anyways or if he was like healthy or what. So I can't really comment. I mean, he did get 226 that game. I mean, maybe like below Blade and B tier. And that's just primarily due to like me really only knowing about that one game. And to me that says that there weren't any other super notable games, but I don't know, maybe I'm not a DOA2 historian, so I could be totally wrong.
Next up, we have Limitable.
I'm gonna be real with you. He's like also below Blade and Legna, like bottom of B tier.
Why is that?
I mean, so his 226 is impressive, right? In that, you know, it was I think his second match basically of DOA2. But we have to remember that this guy was like playing DOA3 like it was his 9 to 5 at this point, and he had literally like the entirety of the notable like every single notable DOA2 player who was still playing was giving this guy advice on like how to like get as far as he could get. Does that make sense? Like I don't think a lot of players have that luxury, right? Where they start out and they just immediately have access to all the best advice. And I'm not even saying like in his chat or something, like this guy was in VCs with like, you know, people who were considered the best of the best while he was playing this 226 game. And even then like he didn't break through. I also like am pretty sure he got a bonus room on 225 complete. So, I don't know. I feel like
I think I remember like a mystical armor or something.
yeah, and I think because of that, like it's the least impressive 226. Like I feel like it was 227 pre-time scale. Okay, so it was 227. I thought it was
Well, because that
226.
sounded Puget is like his 226 is less impressive because he hit a bonus room right before it. Like,
Well, yeah,
and
that's
the idea is that the bonus room got him through 226. It's not that he died on 226.
well, I was saying that like if you get a bonus room on okay, it is 226, yeah. Wait, okay, I'm getting like conflicting. I remember it being a 226. My point was if you get an armory like that,
You got to clear it. Here's what you're saying.
you got to clear the round.
Okay. I was confused by what you said.
So that was my point. Took that. Um, I don't know. I feel like even some of the like players who are known for choking, like me, like as an example, I feel like I could do a lot more with that than just 2 minutes. But I really don't. I mean, here, we can't exactly pull it up, so there's no way of proving this. But
Well,
I remember it being a 226, so I'm gonna rate him on it being a 226.
in the China patch video, like he'd be dying. What round is that? You could tell based on like the
Oh, that's a
color.
well. I don't have access to that. Oh wait, I do.
Maybe you know
One
that every
second.
single video I've ever uploaded is
I
uploaded everywhere.
yeah.
While you look for that, next up we have McMinty.
I mean, Mac Minty beat China 3, so there's that. But I mean, I don't remember how much further he got than that. I don't know if he's here. If he could maybe like, or if somebody could tell me how far that guy got. I want to say it was not quite 192. Like I think he died on dogs.
That
So
sounds right.
I want to put him above iGame, but below Adrenzi. That's my. I think that's fair. Uh,
226.
it is 226. It's definitely 226. Yeah, he dies with 4 boosts and a saw blade. I
Well,
mean,
don't hold it against the guy.
anyhow,
Next up we have Matty McCallum.
I don't really know a lot about Maddie. Um, I feel like he's obviously. I think he's better at DOA2 than he is a DOA3, right?
For the record, I'm just gonna leave these players here at the bottom of the D while we just determine, because that way you can see their full picture. Because
Okay.
now it's starting, like the rows are getting too wide. Go ahead though.
Um, yeah, like I said, I don't really know much about Matty as a DOA2 player. I remember there being like a screenshot of him like with 100 million and 10, 10, 10, but that might have also been Mac Minty. Uh, I don't remember,
That's
to be
based on, I
totally
think.
honest with you. I I don't remember. So I don't feel like I really have sufficient like I feel like this is gonna be one where Rambo ranks again because
I
like
don't know
I just
much
don't
about
know.
I got him. I reached out to him for the documentary because he was just somebody who had like a bit of a high round, and he has the he has one line in the documentary just because like his audio was so shite that was like the best I could salvage was just like 4 words out of him, like stitched together. But I don't know. I think he's played a lot more since then, but I don't know where you would put him. So pick a spot.
Uh, Below Flame.
Next up we have Murder Festival. What's up, Jumbo Boy?
Murder Festival has the same in the same situation I feel like DOA Blue is, where like actually I think Murder Festival is like a more well-rounded player. I want to say like he's like a feet player with a brain. But I don't believe his PBs are super high. I would say maybe like right below Blue, but above Jabdu.
I'm still part of that group chat with them. Like Blue, Murder Festival, and Sizzle and Sambo. They're like,
Same
Rambo, get in here. It's like I never even typed once in there, and they just kept like, I was like kidnapped in that group chat.
like an Xbox group chat.
Yeah, like I didn't know I was even part of it until like months later. I'm like, oh, I guess I missed these invitations for the past 7 months.
No way.
Next up, we have PDS 98.
Does he have a 226 with like the broken gun? Is he the guy with the 226 with the broken gun?
Who the hell has anything with the broken gun? Does he?
There's one game that made it to China 4 with the broken gun.
I think it was
Like when it was
like,
just three-shotting everything. I don't remember who it was though. I
oh,
thought it was P Diaz, but maybe that's fake news. The only other game I know for sure that he played was the three-player that I mentioned earlier with Zarly and Pele. Um, or wait, he is Pele. With Zarly and
come on.
like I'm getting my players mixed up
This is a
here.
disgrace. I don't know any. To be honest, I don't know any of these PBs for probably half the people in this list, or even more than half.
Oh wait, I should have that on my. I forgot I had a spreadsheet. 1 second.
How many
That
people
case.
have beaten China 4 at this point?
Beaten it.
No, solo.
Hang on.
Like, what kind of ridiculous number are we talking here? Like,
How many have
a dozen?
beat it? Uh, at this point, subtracting multiples like 7 or 8. Blackett, ATG, Swado, Kyoki, Citrix, Voltage.
Did you
There's
say
one more.
ATG?
Yes. Uh, uh, there's got to be someone I'm missing. Off the top of my head, though, those 6. Oh, and then Combat Bowl. I don't know how I forgot
Say
about
the list
Combat
again.
Bowl. Uh, ATG, Swado, Kyoki, Citrix, Voltage, Swado,
It's if you say
and
Swaddle
then
twice.
oh fuck. Okay, sorry. One
ATG
more
and
time.
combat.
Yeah, and Combat, and then uh, Blackett also. So 7. Yeah, so 7.
So 9.
I don't fucking know.
Kevin.
It's some ridiculous number.
Okay, I mean, it's a high number.
Assuming
I thought like maybe it might even be higher.
I thought he had. I mean, I don't even have this guy on my list anywhere unless I'm just like stupid. Yeah. Blackett, ATG, Swado, Kyoki. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah, he trolled you again. It's two Swanos in there.
God damn it.
Instead of Swano, it's voltage.
Yeah. Okay, but the other thing, what was I gonna say? I don't have PTS listed on my spreadsheet for whatever reason, but I feel like he definitely had like a China game. So I don't know. Operating on that assumption, I guess I'll put him below limitable
Thank you,
in B
Freedom,
tier.
for the gift of sub to Rios. Much appreciated.
I guess I
Where are you putting him? Below limit?
below limit,
Wait,
yeah.
who is this? Oh, PDS. I forgot who we're talking about. Like, we're talking about, like, don't you have a spreadsheet or is it not updated?
I don't have him on my spreadsheet. That's what I was saying. Oh wait, no. 226 fortune. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, below limit. All right.
No, but, like, for the players who beat in it, don't you have that on your spreadsheet?
Yes, but I don't have Blackett. That's why I was like
Okay.
fugazing because I kept forgetting to like mention Blackett. I haven't seen any gameplay from that,
Next up,
so I don't like have it
We
listed.
have Kyoki.
I feel like Kyoki's really hard to rank. Not like obviously like I think we all know where he's going, but I don't know where to put him there. Like if he goes above or behind Citrix. Because on one hand, like on the on the side of him being below Citrix, like he has a higher or a lower PB for I for at least feet, and I mean Citrix reset 290 gem, he didn't GG 290 gem, so I mean there's that. But then also Citrix plays the China patch, and Kyoki, my understanding is like not to expose him, but like his only exposure to the China patch was on like a school PC or something,
I think
and
he,
that was like leading up to him beating China 4 or having just beaten China 4. But I don't know to the extent to which he played the patch, so I can't really. I want to say like I want to say because of like
and what's his PB?
291 with feet and gem, I think
And Citrix's PB?
297 feet and
And
290 gem.
Gustavo's PB?
I don't know, man. Probably like 70 or something.
So where are you putting him?
I think has I'm trying to remember if he's played a co-op match on DOA2 that like went anywhere. I know he's played with Chris a couple times, but I don't know if it went anywhere. I also remember him playing with Swato. I think I want to give Citrix the edge in this case just because like with the exception oh yeah, he does have 228 bird also. And I think he has like 227 gun or something. I mean I yeah, I guess put him ahead of Citrix because I think he's played more, but I think that makes up for not playing the China patch. Like I think it kind of evens out, and I think he's played with more fates. I think it would be a little bit more definitive if he had played co-op, I think.
Tip
Is
that,
the way
like
to put it.
Kyoki just mentioned, like the word bird, and then the kid was like, I gotta tip this variety. He's top of the list. Next up, we got, oh, me already.
Oh,
Next up, we got Rambo. And be as honest as possible, but if you say any fugazi, I'm gonna just correct it afterwards. Go ahead.
okay. Well, I mean, Rambo hasn't really played like since what 2018, 2019, whenever that 256 with Rios was.
2020.
2020. Okay, so but that was like pre. Was that like pre knowing DOA3 was coming 2020?
Correct.
Okay. Well, in the early days, like you were kind of him, I guess. But I mean, even in the documentary, I think you mentioned that like people like the older DOA1 players, a lot of them weren't playing DOA2 initially, and I think you kind of had an advantage. But at the same time, I feel like you and Frenzy were like the only two people really who carried over all of that from DOA1 to DOA2. You kind of made like a more seamless transition than I think a lot of people did. Uh, so you deserve credit for that. Obviously, you had, I mean, what wasn't it like 171, 200, and then like voltage beat you, so you did 228 or whatever.
Right.
And I mean, even if it was with OP Gym, we have to acknowledge that 228 at that time is like kind of crazy, right? Like you very nearly beat China 4, and most people, like pretty much no one had even seen China 4 yet. People were still struggling in China 3. So I want to say probably like, and you do have a 225 solo, and I don't remember when that was played. Was that like early, like super early, or was it like 2017?
Well, after for the timeline also, then like after the 228, there was like a final patch made, and then I had the 231 with Rios.
And then you had like a 240 or something, a
230. Well,
240 something,
it was a 237, but I mean it was we just like
and then
we just
256.
pushed our Xbox around higher. Nothing. The 225 was 2018.
Mm. And I feel like at that time, you had frame lag that game? I'm assuming, right?
Yeah,
So I
I
mean,
had frame lag at the time. The record was you know what the record was, right?
was it 227 Swado feet?
I don't think so.
Or
I think at the
was that
time
2019 developed? Was that like a 2019 game? I
I
don't
want to
know.
say everybody had 226 at that point, except finishers supposed Fugues.
260. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I would probably give you like, I mean, with because you haven't played and like you've kind of been consistent over the years, where like you haven't died on China since that 228 game, and that 228 game was in like
Well,
2016.
the solo 225, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's so low. I mean, I want to say like giving you like a curve because a lot of your like more prominent games were played super early on. I would probably put you like A tier. Now figuring out where to put you in A tier, like I don't know. I want to say probably like like above Insanity. And I'm just saying that because I know that if you were to play the patch or if you would have played more frequently over the last like, 5 years or so, I think you would have like, a contention for the record by this point, whether that was solo or co-op. Though, I mean, I feel like it would probably be co-op since you tend to be more of a co-op player.
Now I feel bad. Like we got Mystical Camo in the chat, but I didn't include him in the tier list. I figured you wouldn't know who he was.
I thought I mentioned him in like a message, unless I'm tripping. I thought that was like in my list of Xbox players that I just pulled right from the leaderboards.
um, would you put me above Insanity? Like I'd be looking up ATG skirt.
Yeah, above Insanity, looking up ATG skirt. Yep, yes sir.
Um, well, I'm not gonna argue about the ranking. That's whatever. But the idea that I was quote unquote kinda him back in the days, Fugues, and the idea that Frenzy was the only other player along with me who was kind of Frenzy. He was a fine player, but he didn't play much DOA2.
Well, the only other
The
person
games
that
where
really
he
comes to mind would be like Derek, even, and Derek
well
didn't really
there,
play that
yeah,
much,
Derek
did
didn't
he?
play much either. But I could tell you for the first probably 6 months of the game's release, Derek was the only player who I'm like, oh, maybe this guy's like almost as good as me.
Yeah.
There were other good players playing, like Blade was playing consistently and so forth. But
And that's fair to say, but when I was saying that you were kind of him in the beginning, I meant for like the first year to year and a half,
oh,
right? Which like
I was not only
after,
kind of him, I was absolutely him.
well, yes, but my thing is like when Swado comes along, I feel like,
And then even after, no, listen to this. After Swato, he played a bunch of games. Because even after that, all these players were failing left and right on the final patch. Oh, it's hard to play this and that. Me and Rios play a game. Essentially, first try we clear Chinatown 4.0 with 10 lives. At the time, nobody had cleared that, and this is the final version of the game that everybody plays on now. Like they weren't even close. Like these players, like Swado was game overing. You have Havoc trying with Zombie P and their game overing.
I mean, that second
Um,
grouping, I mean, I,
well, it's
that's
because nobody was like there's barely anyone playing. Like Swado was the only person playing. Like the guy was playing every single day, and he obviously accomplished a lot. And he's a great player. But you got to realize like just how many games this guy was playing.
Yeah.
His success ratio in the games was very low. Whereas, you had a player like me and some of my teammates like me and Rios were popping in like playing one game a year and consistently beating me and Rios together were 3 for 3 beating China 4 in a period where people were dying on China 4. Even later on, 2020, you have people dying China 4, dying on Dogs 3, dying on this Kali 4, like random ass rounds just broken.
So,
So
and I understand that,
yeah, go ahead.
and I get your point, but my reasoning wasn't so much that like I was underestimating like how much of an influence you had on the early high rounds, as much as it was like I can't, in good conscience, put you above Combat
No,
Bowl
no, no,
because
no.
I
I'm not
don't
asking
know
you. No, no. I'm not saying you should
playing.
put me higher. I'm just, I'm
You
just,
just mean the
I'm
facts of
just
how I
laying
explained.
down from my perspective. Maybe some people don't see it the same way. Like
Yeah.
from my perspective, like it just, you know,
Well, another thing too with
it
the
wasn't.
Swatto example is like I feel like history has kind of clouded that to an extent because like I feel like I mean we'll get to that later, but I feel like people think of him as just the definitive DOA2 player. Like not like when you think I don't know, when I think of DOA2, I think of Swatto, right? Like that's just how it is. So I think maybe him playing so much over time makes me think that he was just always the GOAT. I don't know. I could be totally wrong, but I think that A is somewhat fair. Um, I mean, you could really go anywhere in A tier, I would think, but I put you there just because like
No, no. You don't gotta justify putting me there.
there's not as
I'm
much
just.
flexibility with
If you
you.
put me at
Not
S,
necessarily
if you put
fate,
me at
but
C, like I would give you the same spiel. I'm just. But some people they don't
yeah.
know. They weren't. You weren't around back then. People in the chat weren't around back then. I'm just kind of laying down how things were. Here, where's this screenshot that I have a friendly file here.
That one time like Pringle was losing his marbles.
I'll do it too. All right, next up we got Rios.
Uh I mean Rios has like most of the same accomplishments that you do in terms of co-op. I mean not really, I guess, with like the super early ones, but as you mentioned, like after that final patch, like every co-op game you played pretty much was with Rios, right? Even those 4Ps later on in like 2021ish or whatever, like Rios was involved in those matches.
4 piece, like what 4 piece? Like we played
The
one.
ones that didn't go anywhere,
There was
but
one game that essentially
the Series XGs.
might not. That might as well not have even happened. We just lagged out on like day one.
But I don't know. The thing with Rios though is that like I don't know if it's because he's Rios and he doesn't feel the need to try, but like I feel like he was always just kind of like I'll just play whenever you need me to play with the feet, but otherwise I'm gonna like go play Pokemon Go or something the whole game. Like that's kind of the vibe I got with those co-op matches, but maybe I would say like correct me if I'm wrong there before I move on to like solo.
I mean, Rios could speak for himself. I'm not gonna
I
speak for
mean,
the man.
for solo, I mean he has a higher solo than you do. I mean granted it's by one round, but I feel like there was something else with that game where like he went flawless to 99 or some cheese. I mean,
Flawless was always kind of silly on DOA2. Like I feel like it's something that should have been pushed a lot further, especially for co-op.
yeah.
And it's just like I remember like Rios played that game and he's like, I think I have like the flawless record for solo. And
Mm.
like you might, which is kind of like embarrassing because there were literally players who would restart for flawless every time they
Yeah.
died, and it's like they were doing this for
Well,
they were doing this for years.
and that's kind of the reason why I'm mentioning it, right? Even if like it doesn't even sound all that impressive in hindsight, people don't go for it anymore. Like I think it's just worth mentioning that he like I don't think he was really playing that much more than Rambo was at that time, and he just kind of like loads a solo up and just like 99 flawless. I mean, granted, even Rambo in his solo 225, I think he went like what 86 or 87 or something.
I think it was a different game, but around before Rios' game, I did like an 87.
Yeah, so like I feel like in terms of solo, like he definitely does have the more impressive of the solo matches, but I don't know if he should be bumped, if that bumps him up, given that I feel like he was kind of only doing what he was only playing when you weren't playing in co-op, so to say. And so like to me that means the easier arenas because he was usually the off-host feat player. Um but I also feel like I remember him playing like Dogs 3.0 or something in one of your games, or maybe it was 4.0. I don't know. I think I would feel the most comfortable putting him above Insanity but below Rambo probably. Just because like I haven't really seen a whole lot of him in co-op. Like this guy always plays with the Furious Feet. But I feel like that's a fair ranking given how I ranked Rambo.
Rios will take that. And by the way, just for the record, 225, like, I'm not saying this just because I died on 225, but back then, 225, 226, it might as well be the same shit.
Yeah.
So,
I
like,
was only
the
mentioning
idea,
that game
the idea
because in
that,
my
like,
mind it's impressive.
oh, like, even if I'm not the example, like somebody else who got a 225, like, oh, Rios got a 226 and this guy got a 225. It's like, he survived an extra 5 minutes. Like, okay. Next up, we have Rogers.
Uh I mean,
So
did he
Jake Kisner.
play Oh, well. Has he beat 164 yet?
I
I don't know if
think I
anyone
haven't seen it, but I did hear someone mention it. Like, oh, Raji, congratulations on the big day. I'm like, oh, he's getting married. It's like, no, he cleared China 3. So yeah, I guess Kyoki says he got 226
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. And I think that was with the gem, somewhat recently.
on feet. You're
Like
wrong again, Kevin. Come on, what kind of historian
bruh,
are you? We're about to
bruh.
just kick you out of the tier list for showing up late and for being unprepared.
I remember what these bozos had. Um, I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. I would probably put him like, I mean, let's see, the revisionist that I am. I don't know. I would put him like above limit. Actually, like below Blade probably.
So he has a 226 solo.
Hmm.
Okay, I guess people around him have a similar round.
Yeah. So.
Next up, we have Sadi.
Uh. Well, he has 226 on feet also. Um. I don't know. Sarah's a hard player to rank because like I remember he got that 226 and then he ran it back on like yellow for some reason and he died on like 216. So, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of the players who have a China game have died before China after they got to China 4. So like I don't think it's really fair for me to mention that, but or well for me to grade him on that. I mean, I would say maybe like I feel like it's really close with these guys. You could probably put him like above limit.
So
I
what's
think
the
that's
story with
fair.
Siri? What was this big like prize pool he had?
I don't know that. I actually don't even really know, to be honest.
We have the kid in the chat. We're looking for me and the kid are looking for flank guests for the flank. If anyone has recommendations for Demon Weekend, probably June 6th, which is a Friday. So if you know anybody like a middleman, book some interesting guests. We don't want to have like Kevin as the guest every time on the flank. Who was that? Theory.
Hmm.
Next up, we have Sean. What's this guy's name? Like Sean
Sean Legacy,
Legacy?
maybe. I don't know anything about this guy. I
Is
just know
that
his
him?
name.
That like he has like an album cover? I guess that's him. Like a rap album or something.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. That's somebody that like wife would always like joke about, but I don't know anything about that guy to be totally honest with you.
So where do you want to maybe someone in the chat can rank him for us? I don't know anything about him either. Other than people were kind of clowning this guy, no? Where he was.
Uh, I mean, just off like nobody knowing anything, I want to say he's probably like around Gallon Mitchell, though Joey area, but yeah, I mean,
Is he better
it's
than
up to you.
Hoach?
I
Without
don't
seeing an
know.
ounce of gameplay of him, would you say he has a chance of being better than Hoach?
I mean, if he's got 100 plus, he's better than Hoach. So yeah, I would put him above Hoach, below Joey.
Go on. Next up, we have Sizzling Sambo. I got a story about this guy. Go ahead.
Uh, can't remember for the life of me what his solo PB is. I know he has like a 227 game where he was off host feet with like that like Jack guy or whatever. Um, and that I think that was played like before DOA3, right? Maybe? I don't know. Solo wise, I thought he had beat 192, but maybe I'm tripping. Uh, my inkling says that he did, or if he didn't, he was like he died on 192. So, like, give me 1 second because I only have like China listed on my spreadsheet. Uh, do you have any comments you want to make on Sambo while I'm looking for this
I don't.
screenshot?
To be completely honest with you, like I haven't followed DOA2. Like I follow certain developments here and there. Like I'll be kind of like jump scared by a development. Like, oh, by the way, this guy beat this round like 6 months ago. It's like, oh, I didn't know about that. But in terms of like studying the gameplay and stuff, like even Sambo, he's not like an OG, but he started playing like before DOA3 for DOA2. I don't know. I can't say I've ever seen him make I haven't seen like a single second of gameplay from him. I don't know anything about him.
In that case, I'd say top of C tier probably.
But I'm sure he's a. The thing is,
He's a very
he used
solid
to.
DOA3 player.
My first introduction to him was he would comment on my videos, and for some reason, Mac Minty told me like, by the way, that Sambo guy, that's like that's Pave on a different. And this is not like DOA Blue. This is like the OG Pave uh, bassist who used to play with Voltage back in the day.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that's Pave on an old account, like Sicily Sambo. Yeah, 100% it's him. And I'm like, okay. And then like months later, we found out like, oh no, they're two different people.
Let's say. Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, I think comfortably top of C tier just because I don't know much. I'm look like the screenshot I have, he's not even on top page for solo. So, I mean, he might have just never played a solo, but I think it's safe to put him at the top of C tier because I know he's like solid for co-op.
So where'd you put him? Say that again.
Top of C tier.
All right, this is the final row. It's all alphabetical, so if you don't see your name yet, you're not popping up sadly. But as a reminder, 55 players chosen. I might have there's some obviously some good players missing from this list. It just I ran a mixture of like interesting names and different skill levels, so it's not these are not necessarily who I think are the top 55 players. It's just 55 people I chose. Next up, Stam.
Um, I remember there was like a period of like for like months and months and months. It might have been like 6 or 7 months where like he was just like and like every weekend Insanity Spectrum was just boosting him.
Really? I don't. I mean, I didn't know about this. When was
Um,
this?
like
Like DOA
2023
3 or okay.
probably. Yeah. Um,
So
I
where does that
think
get
he
him in your
has.
list?
So I think he has 226 2P. And like I thought 225 solo. I think that's right. It might be 226, but that's pretty much negligible. Yeah. Um. Yeah, 225 feet and then 226 2P on gem. So I mean, pretty solid player, I would say. I, um. I would probably put him like under Fatal, just because he has like China 4 solo and co-op.
Okay.
Whereas like most of the players under that, they only have it solo or
Whereas Fatal
they only have
doesn't
it
have
co-op.
it.
Yeah.
Except we have
Fine, he's
except we
got the
have
2016 curve.
we get Slato.
Twato. Okay. So the thing with Swato and why I think it's like hard to really rank him is because like I think everybody knows that Swato is a very good DOA2 player, right? And I think he's been that has been the case for a very long time. But it's also important to acknowledge that like DOA2 was like this guy's bread and butter for like fucking 10 years. Like not even an exaggeration basically at this point, right? Like and I remember I can't remember who it is in the DOA documentary, but they were like complaining about Swato and like Joseph Joestar playing too much.
Finisher.
Finisher, okay. And I mean, it's finisher, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think that is a very valid criticism, right? Like, if you're gonna play the game as much as those guys have, then you're, you know, gonna get better naturally. Like that's just how it works. But I think at the same time, like Swato put more time into this game than anybody else. He's had more fails than anybody else, but I think it's fair to say that he's also had higher highs than anybody else, really, or at least anybody we've seen so far. So I think just because of like the barriers that he's broken, I want to put him at the top of S tier for now. Just simply because like he was the first player to clear China 4 solo, right? I think he was the first player to beat 256 in co-op. He was the first player to beat China 5 solo, like and I mean, say what you will about like the China patch and time scaling, but like at the end of the day, right, he's still the person who in spite of him probably being very close to, you know, an old ass man at this point, you know, he's still pushing it, right? He's still pushing barriers.
I was pushing
You
some
have
yeah, I was pushing some poop out of my butthole in the morning.
you have any comments on that?
No, I mean not really. I mean he's Swado.
Fair to say.
It was just kind of interesting how you like framed it. You're like, I'm sick and tired of hearing all this fugazi about Swado, and you're like, for that reason, he's at the very top of my list. But next up, we have Gamers End, and this is gonna segue us into another topic once it's done. So go ahead.
Okay, so gamers is interesting because like he's a good player from what I understand. I think he had like the gun record or something, like a 226 gun or something. It was like on PC recently, not recently, but like recently, you know, relative to DOA. It might have been like early 2024, like really early 2024. And then obviously he has this recent, I think it was what 296 3P. Is that right, or was it 297? Either way.
I think
So I mean,
296. I'm not too sure.
yeah, that sounds right. So I mean, he's obviously a solid player. I don't really remember him like, you know, obviously I wasn't really around, but I don't remember her. I don't remember him like being like crazy or anything. I want to say probably like above insanity, below Rios. And my like logic for below Rios, even though Rios has like the lower co-op round, is because I think that obviously the China patch played a role in the 296, whereas like it really didn't for any of the games that Rios played. And I think that the China patch, like as much as it's not like I'm not really trying to subtract for that. I think when it comes down to it, like the China patch has made it substantially easier to get better at the game.
right? Like, you don't have to play, a million hours like Swado did. You can kind of just play like, I don't know, like half as much on the patch, and you can get just as good in theory. So, yeah.
For the record, going back to Swado, he was the first player to beat 228. He was also one of the few people, as in like maybe one or two people, who was time scaling to China
Yes, and
before that
I
happened.
thought I mentioned that,
You
but
alluded to it, but
yeah.
I'm not saying he wouldn't have beat it otherwise, but that is maybe something that people don't know about. This was
Yes.
before the patch existed. Certain people with time scale by certain like literally like two people in the community like were using it.
I thought it was like Swado and Voltage had access to it, and maybe like
Well, I
Hooded
think
Time Warp at
he
some point.
was Voltage the second one to beat it on solo,
Yes.
and I think yeah, like he beat it after he started time scaling. So like the first two people to beat it were literally like the only two good players who had access to time scale. So take that as you will. But who like Gamers End? Like I didn't even know this guy was a DUA player until like 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
But I guess you move up the ranks like that without people noticing. Now explain to me like I'm five. Maybe Combat or Kyoki or Kevin could shine a light on this. People have been playing on PC recently for a couple matches. Combat in his solo, Gamer's End, and his 3P recently to 296. I guess people realize like you don't really black screen bug cheese if you play on 60 FPS on PC, or it's like minimized. The chance of it happening is minimized. Okay, whatever. Now, what kind of cheese is happening in this co-op match? Is there some cheese happening with what version they're playing on, and the connectivity and the server and the disconnecting? What's the story with that? Does anyone have information on that?
My understanding, and this like I'm not really super in the know, but I don't think it was like anything like they weren't playing on a mod or anything. I think it was just that they were playing on like an offline client or something. So they weren't playing on Steam.
But what are the implications of that? Because I
Um
know people would say like X Link, like lower chance of like the servers like can go down just your internet. Is that the same thing for this, or am I?
okay, I think it's a little different. So the main issue with BO3 PC is that BO3 PC is kind of like unsafe, or it has the reputation of being unsafe. Um so like BO3 PC, like, I mean, I'm not saying that like anything crazy is gonna happen, but some people don't really want to risk it. It's Def Third Clay, not Steam. Yeah, 100%. Um, the other thing though is that like I'm sure you've played DOA3 on PC like once at least, right, Rambo? Or DOA2, sorry, I mean on PC. But like the frame rate is like awful. Like you can get higher frames, yeah, but like it doesn't stay. Like the frames are so inconsistent. Even if you play capped at 60, like it fluctuates super like heavy, right? So like you might like you're dropping 15 frames occasionally, which I mean, yeah, that happens on the Xbox version, but it's substantially worse on PC, is what I'll say. And so playing on an offline client, originally, like, okay, so the lore with the offline clients and zombies is that like originally my understanding is that it was to fix like the FPS bug and to like make it more safe for people to high round, right? So like th- in theory, if you're playing on a client, you have like a safer connection, maybe a better connection, and on top of that, you also have more stable frames. Now, that is about I think that's it for their game, but I'm not entirely sure because I'm not super in the know.
Um, yeah, I don't know about the whole frames thing. I mean, that could be a thing. I don't know. I'm curious though. Because somebody had mentioned it, like the possibility of like like better connectivity, this and that. I think maybe some research is needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't surprise me if there was better connectivity because like the Steam servers can be, Steam servers. And I mean also we have to take into account that like I don't know if this is just me, but like I get substantially lower ping on my computer than I do on my Xbox. Like whether that's because the Xbox is a piece of shit or because like the network receiver or something is shittier, like I don't know. But I mean, Rambo, you can attest. Like I get like 10 to 20 ping lower with you on console, or I mean on PC than I do on console, right? And I mean, the
He
higher
played
ping I
the
have with
patch.
someone, the more
Jeez.
that changes, right? So, like, I don't know, but I
Well,
don't think you
it
can
depends also.
really
Like,
argue that that's like an advantage, really.
well,
I,
no, I
I
mean,
mean, it is, but
no, I wouldn't say that's an advantage per se. But for you, like, if I'm playing on PC and you're playing on PC, usually the connection's gonna be better than if it's crossplay for something like DOA3. That's why
see, but
something like that.
that's where I was gonna bring up a question, which is like, but playing on PC and DOA3 as an example, like that comes with the caveat of like dealing with BattleNet going down or dealing with some random shit happening with PC because it's unstable, right? Like the one thing that like I am personally a little bit like on the fence about is that playing on like an offline client like Boy, it literally like removes any issue that you have with playing PC. Like you get all of the advantages and none of the caveats.
Okay.
And so by that point it's like I'm not saying you're playing a totally different game. That's not the case at all, but like I mean, I've played the patch quite a bit on high FPS, and I will tell you that like I personally find it a little bit easier on something like the feet, like just to maneuver around. Now that might just be me, but I mean, I would consider that kind of an advantage, right? If it feels like you kind of have to play on these like if you have to play on PC for something, right? And I mean, what if something happens later on where like there's some weird discovery where like you get less entities for like X thing on PC versus on console? Or vice versa. Like, what are you gonna do then? Like, is the DOA community just gonna accept that and play on whatever system is the most advantaged, or
Well, it
are
would
we gonna
that would
outlaw the one that's the most advantaged? Like, how is that gonna work?
no people would just play on PC.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Well, because at this point a lot of people have it, so they would. Even years ago, they were saying like in regards to certain things, like I don't know what like the patch and things like, oh, so and so is they don't have a PC. That's why they should on the patch. They would say the same thing with this. And I don't think let's say there are less entities on PC, something that's just like I don't think there's a problem with playing on PC. Then you shouldn't just get rid of it. It's just kind of like a bit of an evolution in terms of how it's played.
That's fair.
But it depends. Like I don't know anything about this like offline client. I know nothing about them, so I can't speak to it. But I'm just saying if it's something like X-Link. X-Link is something I always thought was very cheesy. Where a game like DOA1 existed for over 10 years. People played on the servers, and it's like all of a sudden you got this X-Link thing, and people are saying, oh, you get lower ping on it, you have better connectivity, the servers can't go down, you just your internet. That's like a whole different game you're playing. Like you hop on that shit, like there's nothing to stop you, you know, other than game
Yeah.
over. So it's a weird balance in terms of evolving with the times and optimizing the game to the player's advantage, but also to where it's like, am I still playing the same game that people were getting records on 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago? I don't know. Moving on, we got Toker.
Mm. Okay, so you're probably gonna have to correct me on some things when I'm thinking about this, or like kind of like working through it. But Toker, he started like late stage or later stage DOA1, like 2012, 2013, right?
2013, so yeah.
Okay, and then like he was kind of like he grinded DOA2, but it wasn't when DOA2 was like out. It was like 2017 to
I,
like 2020-ish.
for the record, I did play a game with him during like week one. He kind of costed me, but then he just
Shut.
he disappeared.
I mean, yeah. So I don't really know. I feel like he's done he's done a lot. Like I think he has the I mean, well, not really the 3P record, but like the 3P turn 2P record with voltage. Then he has the 4P record, and he had a lot of 3Ps before that where like some fugays happened. Like there was that one game, it was either like a 3P or a 4P where he like got the score cap and he didn't know it was a score cap or something, and then they croaked on like Kali
He
because of
knew
it.
he knew the score cap was the thing. I don't know exactly what was happening.
Oh
I think it
well,
was just
I just assumed he didn't.
bad
Better injury.
No, not
Yeah.
bad RNG. Like you know, just accidentally 400 million. Like bad
Yeah.
management, and then also like maybe he in his mind he expected certain teammates to play more than they were capable of in that particular match. But I don't. That's just my memory of it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my thing with him though is I feel like he's always like I don't want to say always, but like once he started grinding, I feel like he got really good. And I'm saying that relative to a lot of like, most of the players on this list. Like his 226 game, I don't know how far he got into that round, but I remember it being like or seeming like I was impressed by like the gameplay. I mean, not that that's saying much, but like even compared to other China games, I was like, huh, he's actually playing this like kind of intelligently. But with that being said, like that's his one solo game, and I feel like
He never
his
played
his co-op
farther.
stuff is no, his PB I think is 226 still.
Huh.
Unless he played a game like super
But
recently and it's like
he
not released
he
yet,
must have
because
played
that
the patch at
yeah.
some point, no? In terms of like beating China 4 in the patch or something.
I really don't know because I've never really like talked to him, and I don't think he's ever streamed it. I mean, maybe Kiyoki would know, but I've always just assumed he played the patch. Because like why wouldn't you, right? In his position. But I mean he played a lot of co-op. Uh and I don't know. I feel like when he played co-op, like he was kind of versatile, right? Like I feel like he could like handle himself really well on gem or feet. Which I mean, like that's not saying much because they're the best fates, but like he's like top of the line when it comes to both of those. Um, and Kyoki brings up a good point. Like he actually did have like a pretty good score in that solo 226. Like not that score like really means anything or like is necessarily indicative of more skill just because of like DOA2 it's kind of just ray guns and multipliers, but I think he had like 280 that game, something like that. But I don't know. I want to say that I'd probably put him at the bottom of S tier
Okay.
because I feel like even though his solo PB is like kind of low relative to the other people in S tier, I get the feeling that it could be further if he actually played solo, but he just like hasn't. Um,
Yeah, he
I
just
also
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I the other thing with Toker is that like I don't know if it's just me, but like I really like his playstyle is what a DOA player's playstyle should be like for DOA2 in my mind. Like he's not too flashy with his movements and like he knows when to like do things. I know that sounds weird, but he doesn't have the issue that I think a lot of players have with DOA2 where like they're always doing something like they have one habit that they just can't kick. Like I think Toker's really well rounded when it comes to DOA2. And that's why I'm putting him in S.
Yeah, this guy is also really well rounded. Um, that's over. Yeah, I mean he was at the forefront of a lot of those later co-op games in the COVID era, and even a little bit beforehand. He was
Mm-hmm.
always the guy on, like you said, on Feed or Fortune and doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And some of those games didn't quite go as planned. But it's not necessarily his fault. But he, no, he had consistently like a lot of high rounds on co-op, and that's why it's kind of fugazi because it's like he had that 226, which was like very well respected for a while, right? Because of
Mm-hmm.
A, it was like tied for the highest round for a bid or good score, this and that, whatever. Plus, he had all those co-op rounds that people respected.
Mm-hmm.
When people started getting back into DOA2, when DOA3 came out, when all these like Frenzy and Limit and Cody were like going back and talking and this, people always would say Toker, oh Toker's the best, Toker this, oh no I think this guy, no Toker's the best. So it's like all of a sudden people started passing him up on solo, and it's like I don't know.
No, and that's a fair point. And I don't
People,
know if
I'm
it's
not,
just because
it,
I've personally watched a lot of like Toker's gameplay. Like
no
I
no,
used to
I
just kind of like hang out there when he
yeah
was
yeah.
playing co-op,
Just,
but to me at
where
least
I'm
he
going with
seems
that conversation
more
is
well
like
rounded.
he could go from the goat one day, and then all of a sudden everybody's playing the patch, and all of a sudden it's like, well, actually, he's not as good as other people, and it's like, well, I don't know. Like this guy was, people were just calling the goat a month ago. Like we're just gonna discredit him because he stepped away for solo. I don't know.
100%.
He
And
he he,
and
he
another thing too is even with like 2P, right? Like he doesn't have like an amazing 2P round. I think it's like 235, right? But that game, like I think what happened that game is Turbo was on firepower and like he just like that arena got too dirty. Like something like that, like I don't know, man. Like I just kind of feel like he's the most well rounded, apart from like one guy that we'll get to a little later, but that's just me.
Zambino. We're saving the best for last. Next up, we got Turbo.
Um okay, so Turbo, I don't believe he has access to the patch for starters. I do want to say that. I don't think he has access to the patch. I think he just
Two
plays
nuke, seven
PlayStation.
boosts.
Yeah, fair point. um, so the thing with Turbo is I think he's like number 2 for silverback defeats now on PlayStation. I'm not even joking. Like I'm saying that as like a metric of like this guy played a shitload of DOA2, okay? Like a shitload, like more than Freedom played of DOA2. More than even like Jamaican played, more than any Xbox player played probably,
more
or
than
any strictly Xbox
more
player.
than dude drunk on DOA3.
I I don't know about that, but I think he like last time I looked, like this guy had like over 1,000 defeats, and it's like, bruh, like that. All of that is to say that like he played a lot, um, and I think that he's done pretty well for himself. Like I think he has a 227 solo gem off the top of my head, and he was in that 296 game with Chris, like with Voltage and Toker, and he like lagged out on like fucking I don't know, it might have been like Bloodpool. Uh, the one thing with Turbo though is that like with the exception of like his 260 like player match with like Maymister, who like I still don't even know who the fuck that guy actually is. Um, I've never really seen him like take the like anything other than the firepower in co-op. And I mean that's great that he can use the firepower, especially because I feel like the firepower is kind of like you're either good with it or you're not in that game. But I think he's a somewhat limited player in terms of like what he can do in co-op. I mean, not that he's pretty much world class at firepower, so there's that. But
How about his
I would
comms?
top tier comms, like that was another funny thing I forgot to mention. But like every time like I would watch like Toker, like when they would get to 4.0 or 5.0, like you would hear no comms from anyone or anything. You would just hear game audio and then Toker and game or not Toker, Turbo and game chat making like the most needless comms of all time.
But you like took inspiration from him with the comms, now.
Yeah, for DOA3, yeah.
You're like, watch out, Shadow. There's a Shadow
Well,
boogie.
well, I was saying needless because of like i- this guy's making like he's calling out like that, but like you can see the whole map in DOA2 and co-op like
Yeah. So Turbo,
anyways.
where are we putting him? Did
Um
we put him somewhere? Where the hell is he? Oh, I put him at B for now. Where do you want to put him?
uh above ATG under combat ball probably.
Oh my good lord, Kevin. Well, I'll say with a player like Turbo, and this applies for a few people in this list, but there's certain players who, like when they game over, like you kind of you know about it. It's like because maybe they're not playing as often, or they're streaming it, this and that. This, or people mention it years later.
Yeah.
Like Furious, for example, dying on like Bloodpool, or me dying on any particular round that I might have died on.
Yeah.
Like people like, oh, you died on that round. Then you have a player like Turbo, who I swear to you, and probably nobody in this chat was like even watching at the time, apart from maybe one or two people. This guy probably died on China like 6 times. Like he would do 2Ps with Swato, die on 225. This is well after I had cleared the arena like years before. Play a 2P, die on 225. Next game, 4P. Oh, Chinatown game over again. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but it's kind of funny in terms of like he could play these games where he just absolutely like him or his teammates like shit the sheets, And just like nobody knew these games even existed, they only know as good games.
Well, and that's a fair point, but you could even bring like that argument into someone like Kyoki, where like I don't even know how many Chinatown 4 games that guy played. I'll be totally real with you. Like I lost track, but it felt like for like a couple months, like every day this guy was playing DOA2, and he was like consistently getting to China, and then like he would just like croak on like 227, 226, and then like a couple 228s, and then he finally broke through. But which I don't know. I mean, obviously, like I think if you're going strictly on the metric of like skill, I think that that does take away from it. But I also think you can build up skill over time, right? I mean, like who's another good example? Like Rios as an example, like there had to have been a point where Rios was just like a shitter at DOA1, right? But like he played a shitload of DOA1, and I imagine you did too. Like everybody has to start somewhere, and that's kind of my thing with Turbo. Like I don't know when he started. Clearly he never stopped, but I don't know when he started. But I feel like it's somewhat admirable that he was, willing to like keep going. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
Uh, Next up, we have Voltage, also known as Chris.
Mm, I mean, I don't know. The thing with Chris Voltage is like I think he suffers from like the same thing you just mentioned with Turbo, right? But almost like the other way around. I mean, I guess that's kind of the same with Swatto even, but I mean, Voltage, what? Like he had that 215 back in the day where like he beat you in
Well, if you're talking about Voltage, you might as well
Frenzy, but
talk
then
about the past 5 years.
the past 5 years, like I don't know. I feel like he's kind of just been playing DOA and like a whole lot of nothing else in terms of like what he's been grinding. I mean, as of recent, I think he's been playing other stuff, but that's because like he kind of just has everything I think he wants to get, right? Um I don't know if that's the case. I'm just conjecturing here, but yeah. And I mean, the thing with Chris is that like if we're talking DOA2, tech like he has done the most. Like I think he has like what 291 feet. He has the record with Gem. He has like 290 with gun or something.
So what's the solo record that he has?
I think it's 299. Let me double check my
Which
spreadsheet.
is
I don't.
which is the highest round period for DOA2.
Yes. Yes. So, like in terms of that, he's done the most solo. Like even Bird, I think he has like a 226 Bird or something from like years ago. And then co-op he's done a lot too. Like what? He has 291 Swado, which I think is still like the joint record for like 2P technically. There's the 3P turn 2P game with Turbo and Toker. He doesn't have the 4P, so there's that, I guess. But I mean, at the same time though, like I I feel like a lot of that, not that I'm saying that Voltage wasn't good before, because I know he played like a couple China games and he had like a couple like China 4 matches and obviously co-op games before the patch, but I feel like the patch and like time scaling like this, like I feel like he put more time into that than anyone else did. Right? And I think to an extent it's like I don't want to say that that I'm going to frown upon it because that's just the modern state of DOA2, but it's like the case you made with Turbo where it's like, for all we know, Chris doesn't really stream his games anymore, right? So he I mean, he could just as well be like grinding out something right now and we don't know, right? And it might take several games for him to get there. That's just how it is, right? So like I want to say Chris is probably top of S tier just because of how much he's done, but I don't know. It's kind of a toss up with like him and Swado, I think. He's done more than Swado, but I think Swado has been at the forefront of the game for longer, if that kind of makes sense. Not to say that Voltage isn't like or wasn't always like good, but I think Swado for a really long time was just kind of like the premier DOA2 player, if that makes sense. Or like you know, he was the guy grinding it the most, and you know, he had like
So who do you
the
got?
first 227. I said like voltage at the top. I was justifying voltage at the top.
Next up, we got Wavy Boy.
I don't know anything about that guy except that he got carried through China 3 by like someone. I don't remember who the hell it was.
Alright,
It
we'll
was a
put
better
him.
European player.
We'll put him below Murder Festival. Next up, Wife.
Uh, above Sean, above Doe Joey, below Gallon Mitchell.
Damn.
Next.
Next up, we got Zarly.
What does he have? Like 227 feet or something, and then that's after patch. I mean, after the patch, like access to the patch, and then like he doesn't really have any co-op except for that one random 212 game. Uh,
That was repulsive. That was like spat out my water.
I'd put him probably like above KXG, below Blackett.
Below KXG.
Yeah, below KXG.
Next up, we have Zag.
I don't really know much about Zag. I know. I don't really know much about Zag. I'll be totally honest with you. I know he has like a random 228 3P on PC or something after patch. That's all I know about Zag. So if this is one you would have to rank because I don't really know much about this guy.
I don't know much about him either. He used to play 2Ps with Insanity before DOA3 came out.
Mm.
I always thought
Aussie
Zag was the
duo.
better. I think he was like the better player at the. Maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering.
No, I think you're right. Because he wasn't terrible at DOA3 either. But I mean, I just don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like
we'll throw him in B somewhere. Where do you want to put him?
let's put him below Zarly.
Where the hell is Early? Oh,
You just put Zarly there.
dude, I'm off the Papania. Zed, baby, Zed.
I don't remember Zed playing DOA2. I think he maybe had like a 215 or something. I don't know. I only tracked games past Chinatown, so.
Zombie P is double S tier.
So where are we putting Zed?
Uh,
Wasn't Zed in this 3P that was just played?
was he? Oh yeah, he was. I forgot about that. In that case, I don't know, like somewhere in B tier,
I tipped that.
like below FCA. We're gonna need to make some revisions after
Wait,
we're
no, he
done.
wasn't. That was 0-2100 in the 3P.
Oh, then Zed is top of C tier. I got fugazed. Top of C tier.
Where do you want to put this guy
Almost
below?
like 2 games is the title's S&D special.
You mean 0-2100? That's what you're talking
Below
about
FCA?
now? Yeah, below FCA. Because Zero has a 227 solo, but Zero like spammed like that guy was like, I mentioned Kyoki earlier, where like Kyoki had like a million China 4 matches. Like Zed was the same way, but Zed Zero was the same way, but Zero never broke through in a real match, is my understanding. So that's why I'm putting him there.
The Great Zambino.
227 gem, like
So this
above
guy a shitter?
above me, I guess. I don't know.
We're just throwing shitters above you.
I mean, I'm a shitter. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
I mean, we both just played the patch and got a 227. Like, I think that's really it.
Finally, we
Alright.
have Zombie Prophecy.
I mean, he had the #1 spot on Xbox at one point, but was that like pre-patch or post-patch?
I believe post.
Okay. Probably B tier. Well, actually, yeah, definitely B tier. I would say like Like a, I tipped that.
It'd be like next to
Uh,
Stam at B tier.
like under me, probably like above Fatal. And then
Above
I'm gonna
Fatal.
make a
Crazy.
few, yeah, and then I'm gonna make a few revisions. 'Cause I kind of forgot about these fools.
Limitable is rating with a party of 29.
Thank you, Limitable.
Tip that. Okay, so for B tier, I'm gonna move a few people around.
Where's Lakers dude
FC.
7?
Where would you put
That
Johnny
shitter
Boy?
would be bottom of the
He could be
list.
below Hoach. Hoach is better than
Um,
Johnny Boy, I imagine.
yeah, so he would be he would be bottom of the list.
Hoach is not a bad player. Why is he at the bottom?
Yeah, I feel like you could probably put him like above Gallon, but I don't think I'd put him above Jabdo. You could make that revision real quick. That would be nice. Um,
If I loaded up Black Ops 3, could I check my high?
yeah, I know what it is off the top of my head. It's like 86.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I remember you posting that screenshot.
So what are your...
Okay.
Do me a
Move
favor. Yeah,
FCA.
go ahead.
Move FCA to above Zarly, but below KXG.
Okay.
And then move Furio below Blackett. And then I would say move Turbo below Rios.
The hell?
And then that would be it for changes.
My propaganda worked.
Eh. Well, thinking about it, I don't feel like he's better than ATG, and I don't feel like he's really better than either you or Rios. So like, I think
Well,
that's fair.
I do rate myself highly for just period, and then also if I did pick up the game again. But I imagine there are people watching who are like triggered that people like me and Rios are in the top 10 and we haven't really played the game in like 5 years. Just throwing that out there. I'm not saying you made a mistake, but
See, I feel like that's
I am
fair.
acknowledging that because I do know there are people watching Incognito right now, like complaining in the Discord call, like, can you believe it? What the hell has the Godfather done? Do you like the picture I picked for Blade?
One more change. I think I'd put Citrix above Kyoki on reflection.
Say that again.
I'd put Citrix over Kyoki,
Damn.
but that's only because, like, in hindsight, like Citrix has actually like played some co-op. There's not really. I mean, I think Kyoki's thing is like his connection, maybe, unless I'm tripping. But I feel like Citrix still edges him a little bit because he's played some co-op matches. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's it.
So how is Zombino ahead of you?
Supposedly,
Is this guy good?
okay, no. So we both got 227 gem. He definitely had a lower score, but we both got 227 gem. But like Citrix was saying he didn't use the patch, but I remember him using the patch before that game. And like he's also like, I don't know. I mean, he's also a better co-op player though, so that's kind of why I figured he went above me. I put Beast on above him because like if I had to pick a teammate, I would pick Beast on, not just because of connection, but I feel like that would be a funnier game. Like it's just like Fugazen.
I
It's
wonder if
like,
he's
man, I
still
have to end this
alive.
game quickly.
Last I
Oh, the
heard,
Russians probably got
he
him.
was stuck in Russia, and he said like he was like, "Stay tuned, things are about to get dirty." Like, my feet are kicked up. It's like 4 years after he said that.
But I mean, I feel like I was pretty fair
with ratings here. I don't know. Maybe there's some ratings that people feel are off. But I
Well,
will lock in my list now, and I want your opinion, Rambo.
my opinion. Well, first of all, it's one because you were 3 hours late to the damn thing. It's 1 in the morning now, and I still have rubber to burn on ranked, and ice cream to eat, and I woke up early today.
Hmm.
My bad.
Uh, so I'm not like my feet are like I got tired feet syndrome right now. Uh, Second of all, if people want to make their own tier lists, I could pop a link here in the chat afterwards. What's up, bug? My thoughts. Um,
Just overall, like I don't need you to go through each one individually or anything.
I have top 1000 on PlayStation and score.
Congratulations, Johnny.
a lot of these players, I straight up like have never watched. Even even people higher up in the list. So it's hard for like I see certain names here like throughout the list, like even in B tier. I see names and it's like if you showed me this person years ago, I'd be like, this guy, he's not good at the game. Like, what? Who is this guy? But I guess things change. That's just the nature of the beast. One day you could be a shitter, and the next day you got a crown on your head. But
I
in
Oh
don't
terms
boy,
of
a crown on my head.
anything egregious though, like it looks fairly okay. I mean, limitable is probably better than a lot of people above him in B.
Yeah, but
He
I
ha-
mean,
he
I feel
he
like
he
it.
hasn't accomplished much, but in terms of just like, hey, like we have this DOA2 gauntlet coming up, like this and that. It's like, yeah, I'll take limit over a few of these other guys. Same thing with
Yeah,
Legna. Same thing with Ho Chi Minh. No, okay.
like I said, my thing with Limit was just that he got a bonus room and he didn't do anything with it. I mean, but you can't really hold that against him. It was like what supposedly his second DOA2 match. So I mean, you could realistically like he could probably be like above Fatal, like with Zombie P or like above Zombie P even. But I don't know, like he just didn't play enough for me to really get like a good.
And then some of these other people, Finisher had made it to China 4, Flame made it to China 4. I'm not saying they're great players, but like maybe that alone, in terms of doing it years ago, is enough to like get them to like the bottom of B tier, which got some of those other people to B tier. I feel like Zombie
Yeah, and
P.
that's
Like what has
fair.
Zombie P done on co-op? Like he hasn't done shit on co-op. It's just his 225 they got him there.
Pretty much.
So then why is Flame not there? Why is Finisher not there?
Because
Those are
Flame
my.
has well, Finisher is fair, but my thing with Finisher was like I didn't really know anything about Finisher. Like that's my thing. Like I was going off of like I was told he had a China 4 and then he like fugazed a 260 game, which by the way, fugazing a 260 game, like you get negative points for that.
That's true.
Straight out.
He is a hack.
Like unironically, somehow like almost the biggest capper in the community, except for like you know who, like this full gamer zen, like I told you guys. This guy was like fugazing about like the black screen or something in like Combat Bowls chat on like fucking like 5.0. Like he was just arguing with people for no goddamn reason.
Let's see
Kevin, you
here.
did forget about Monkey G though.
Oh, that's true. Where would you put Monkey G at?
I don't know what the fuck that is. For real.
How about mid ball?
Jabdu?
We ran it by ChatGPT. Like, create a tier list, and they put Monkey G at S tier.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But I feel like B tier is probably the one where like you could make a lot of changes. It's just kind of like B tier is so big that like I don't know. It just kind of kept getting bigger and bigger. That's kind of like the tier where it's like they made it to China, they didn't quite beat China, except for Blackett. But
All right, Johnny, ready for a live rendition of the China patch?
Yeah.
I would, but it's too late.
What?
I'll have to whisper it, you know.
Only by gutter trash.
They played that patch.
Or to Nasty's channel point reward for me doing the impression. It'd be too late to I'm gonna wake up my cat.
We're still gonna play rank though, right?
You wanna play ranked?
Yeah.
It's 1:10 in the morning.
I'm down, John. Hop on.
I'll
Let's
play.
do it.
I'll play a game. But I want some ice cream first, sadly. So maybe you guys want to run one without me.
Shit, I'm
I
down. It's
loaded up
Friday.
BO3 and I'm so spoiled now with 120 frames per second. 60 frames is like choppy. It's crazy.